has been a medium, intuitive counselor, and teacher for over 40 years. Her workshops and readings are filled with humor, insights, and understanding of mind and thought, and her talks are always insightful and inspiring. It is my pleasure to welcome Rev Diane Davis to the podium, and please help me in doing that.
Okay, I'm ready for lunch. I've had a wonderful week of feeling kind of crazy and confused. And I'm sure it's very unusual, so you don't have to apply yourself to it. I find that even trying to watch the news or whatever, that it's still there. So I want to tell you a little bit about Reverend Eloise Page. We have a garden up by our bookstore, the white building with the green trim and the mural on it. And Reverend Eloise Page, she wasn't my first teacher of mediumship, but she was my first instructor of natural law, and I had 13 years with her. The interesting thing is, in those early days, and they were before some of you were even born, and I mean that very sincerely, and it was not about becoming the best medium on the planet. It was not about understanding your intuition. It was not about being an excellent healer. It was about self-discovery and knowing who you are. It was about self-development. And an interesting thing happened because those 13 years of being around her, then I went out to the Northwest and lived out there for a few years and came in touch with some other teachings that expanded what I understand and what I know even to this day. Eloise did not teach so that people became dependent upon being able to recite what a natural law is or was to her. She taught in a way that empowered, and that's the beauty of today's talk. So today I wish to talk about the God self that is you, and that is a term that she used a great deal. It's not been a term that I've used in these last many years, but what happened this past week while I was going through one crazy time after another was I came in touch with some of the recordings of her. And so I sat and listened. I used to be able to take notes in her class verbatim because I could almost flow with the thought and the talk. It wasn't so much the fact of, golly, you knew a lot. It was the very fact that in that beginning time, and this was in the early 70s, it was not about becoming something grand or performing or even talking to you all in the way that I am this morning. It was about expanding self and knowing self. So I would like to talk with you about the God self and leaf blowers. Yes. So I was in my kitchen and I'm listening to this powerhouse talk on a CD, her, and all of a sudden I hear a buzz, a certain buzzing. Now I don't know about you, but when things make noise and you don't recognize what the noise is, do you panic? Or do you kind of go, or no? Well, I do. My car did a ding ding one morning that was unusual. It was a ding ding, unusual ding ding. And so I had to take the manual out and look. And there's 3 pages in this manual of ding and their meanings. 3 pages. We're not talking about 2 examples. We're talking about tables of what you do when the ding is this way or it pauses that way. So here I am in my kitchen, and suddenly I hear this buzz, and it's an unusual buzz. I have heard leaf blowers for years and years and years. Many of you may employ them, use them, and love to move your leaves from your yard to your neighbor. I don't care. But one thing that occurred, was it was an unusual sound. So now I'm looking around my house because it is an older building, and I'm thinking, okay, it's not the smoke alarm, and it's not the car, and it's what in the world? And so I'm listening and listening and listening, and finally I looked up on the hill right beyond my home, and somebody was up there using a newer leaf blower, and they were blowing a whole bunch of dirt around. And so it was sort of buzzing, and I went, oh, okay. So God's self, what does it mean to you? Because when you're born, there are unlimited potentials attached to you as you come into this embodiment. Not a limit, but a huge amount. I would say a gazillion, and that's a pretty big amount because we talk about the infinite. Well, infinite means infinite. So those are potentials, and those are not things that you have to know what you're doing in order to make them happen. Sometimes how they occur is an opportunity to find yourself drawn to do something. I was drawn to come up here the first night I did for classes. Totally different. Interstate was totally dark, not a whole lot of lights, no one used cell phones at the time. And it was this little funky community that I'd heard about and come up for one reading and had a really good experience in that as well. But it was all new to me, but I felt drawn to it. All of you have felt drawn to do things. You have felt that energetic thing curse through your body and stimulate the brain to do something. Some of you are here today because you were bound and gagged to get here by somebody else, maybe. Some of you are here today because there's something you want to heal, or there's something that you want to touch, or there's something that you think you have to have because it's required. Well, you're not required to listen to my whatever, but I want you to know about leaf blowers. And leaf blowers are wonderful tools. And I love it when you can drive by and someone's blowing a whole bunch of yard debris into the street. I haven't a clue what they're going to do with it and why. Doesn't make it easy to rake up or pick up many times. And so over the years, I've listened to leaf blowers across the street from my house, around my house when the yard's being picked up and mowed, all over the planet in places I've traveled. What happens is, in our lives, that God's self, that energy and energies, plural, that are within you, those, as they expand, and they forever expand, you are never less than you have been. You are always more. The more is what you've added to you. It might be a new thing. I told a cute little thing to a few people when they came in this morning, and that is that I listen to Donna Summer sing Hot Stuff before I come. That's the truth. And for those of you who haven't heard that song, please bring it up on a computer or your phones if you have that capability, but not now. Okay. Well, we could sing along. Anyway, but there's a commentary on it that was so sweet. And it was an 11-year-old child making comment that when they first heard Donna Summer sing Hot Stuff, they thought instead of the words hot stuff, she was saying pasta. So they spent a lot of years doing that until they got exposed to the real deal. What about you? All of your life you have learned truths, you have learned information, you have been exposed to a lot. What have you developed in you? And can you take that out there in the world and interact in a way that allows you to feel you've accomplished, you've done, you're accepted? I was told last night of somebody that has been very important in my life and how they had been airlifted from one hospital in North Carolina to one in Chattanooga. I'm not going to go into it, but I went out and took a really short walk. I don't do long walks at this time. And it was interesting because I just kept telling him, do what you got to do. Let your soul do it. You're going to do whatever you got to do. How are you going to know you're healed? How are you going to know these things until you try? How are you going to expand who you are? But there's this wonderful part of you that is ever expanding, always, every day. And that's what we talk about here, because our first principle is we believe in an infinite. You can call it God, you can call it the isness, you can call it the is-notness, because it hasn't been created yet. You can call it whatever you want. You can call it God, you can call it goddess, you can call it, but it exists. Is it a personal thing? Is it something that's going to hand you a gift and say, oh, you deserve this, but that person doesn't? No way, in my opinion. The opportunity to become all that you are, how do you do that? You do that because you explore who you are. The leaf blower effect is an amazing thing because we often clean up our act, not necessarily because we've cleaned something in here, but we often pick it up outside and we move relationships, we move homes, we get a new car, there's a new job. Those are not bad things. Those are things. And yet, the beauty is when you feel drawn to do something and it manifests into a relationship, a job, a home, a car, a new talent, a skill. Wonderful. So everyone has that connection. And it's not limited to people just because they've taken a class or they've read a book. It's not just because other people complain enough and get vicious with complaint. It's not about blaming life. To me, the isness, infinite God does not punish, and it does not bestow. That is a given upon your birth. And the beauty of it is you're adding to you every moment, every day. Those cells within your body right this minute are still functioning. They haven't stopped because you're sitting still. They don't stop because you're laying in bed and asleep. They're at work, and they're moving, and they're happening. And the same thing is an opportunity for the brain. One thing that Reverend Eloise Page used to mention is that 1 hour of intense mental focus was almost the same as a day's physical labor. Not because one is better than the other, but because as mediums and counselors, we often are sitting on our tushies all day. And maybe not all day, but a lot of it. And then there's being in the car, driving to where you need to go. And then there's computers. I know none of you do this, but I play computer games. They're my way of kind of thinking. It's hard to imagine that I can multitask, but I can. So I was reading on the phone for a woman in Pennsylvania this past week, and she started to kind of put words in my mouth, you know, the type of thing where they tell you what they want to hear. Some of you all identify. Is that, and I told her, I said, don't put words in my mouth. Let me just give you my words and let them be. Let them rest. Let yourself explore them. She was recording the reading. She'll listen and hear. Whatever those impressions are that you have, they're valuable. Whatever you want to do with you, it has meaning. Don't take the leaf blower within you and blow it into somebody else's yard. Take a moment and say, wow, this is something I want to pursue, or wow, this is great. There are so many laws in nature, and to me, they all interweave. There isn't one that is more prominent and important than the other. But the first natural law that I learned was the law of mind. And the good news is we all have one today, isn't that? Oh, so how are you using yours? And it doesn't mean you have to do good works for people. It doesn't mean you have to be benevolent. It doesn't mean you have to be in service. And it doesn't mean you have to do a particular thing in order to achieve. It is already within you to expand in whatever way you expand. And the beauty of that expansion is all types of things occur. We don't have a tendency to talk as much, or I don't hear it, meaning that I'm back in the back here and stay to myself a lot, is that miracles. But we do know, or some of us have had exposure to, how those cells within the body shifted in order to bring forth healing. And when they healed, it was unexpected. And when they helped, it was encouraged. And recently, what have you done for you that allows you to nurture you, to grow, to expand, not because you have to be better, but just because you are becoming more? And that is an incredible thing to recognize because of the fact that, and Reverend Darrell has heard this from me countless times, is your life is a tapestry that you add a stitch to every moment. And every moment those stitches keep expanding into a beautiful, beautiful tapestry. Is it something that other people are going to value and appreciate? Maybe not. Is it something that people are going to nurture and feel? Maybe not. But what is important is you and your inner passion, you in that capability, you in that God self, and you understanding that your devotion to you is very meaningful. It doesn't take away from anybody else. It just keeps adding who you are and how you are. So, in talking about this, Robin up in our office isn't here today, but I would have brought attention to her today if she had been. So here I am. Is that Robin started studying with Darlene, who became Lori Kelly because she shortened her name because her full name got everybody confused a lot over the years. So Darlene was the first medium to be, or actually certified in this community, because we had the capability to provide that, but we had not used it. We had not utilized it. There were other organizations represented. Darlene was in my classes, and Darlene was in Eloise's classes, and Darlene learned about herself, and she learned about what she wanted, and she learned about how to go forth. Was she always accurate with that? No. Was she always somebody that everybody wanted to follow? No. I'm not either. I used to drink beer and I cuss. I just want to warn you. So what happens when you're you? And what happens when you feel an expansiveness of you that is? It's not is if you do something good for it. It's is because it is. And you've heard it is what it is. It's not an end and it's not a fatalistic comment. It's a starting point. Because if you've thrown a relationship away because you had a leaf blower about it and you couldn't handle it anymore and you didn't want to deal with it, so be it. This is not a time of criticism. But if you've thrown away something and yet you think about it, it may be something that you want to pick up that leaf blower within you and say, you know, this really wasn't debris. This really wasn't a problem. It's just I've got to deal with it differently. We're changing day by day. Have you noticed? All of us are. The cells in the body are shifting. How come? The atmosphere has shifted. What are you paying attention to? Because what I want to encourage you with is don't be afraid. Be you. And if fear touches your life, allow yourself for one moment to know if it's fear for your physical safety, that can be legitimate. But beyond that, it might be imagined, and it might be something that you didn't use your own leaf blower to gather up and say, that truth was okay when I was younger, but that truth doesn't apply to today. Just like hot stuff and pasta. Keep it in mind and have a wonderful day. And before I go to my chair, is that I'm not giving messages today. Somebody else is going to be doing that for you, but I want to thank all of you for being here and letting me spew forth, because I love to do it. Bye.